Hello, thanks for joining me today on the RedChip webinar. My name is Gareth Sheridan. I'm the CEO of Nutriband Inc., stock symbol NTRB, and our company develops transdermal solutions for pharmaceutical and consumer products. Just before I get into the presentation, I'd like to make a note of everybody to acknowledge the forward-looking statements as we proceed, and I'm very excited to share with you the company today. To get started, I'm going to give everybody a brief overview on the company and what it is we do. The original Nutriband was founded in 2012. Been in the US since 2016. The company is primarily focused on transdermal technologies and its applications for the pharmaceutical industry and more. So what does transdermal mean to the average person? So transdermal basically means through the skin. So our focus is on delivering medications, different ingredients, therapeutic ingredients through the skin and using that as a route to the body to compete with oral, injectables, and liquid doses of other medications. The reason we focus on transdermal was because we noticed a trend over the last decade or so that more and more medications are heading in this direction due to the increased technologies becoming available, assisting in the delivery of new and exciting new drug therapies. So transdermal technology itself is growing 11.6% year over year, which is a good few times higher than the actual pharmaceutical industry itself, which in itself is a high growth segment. So our goal is to become one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the transdermal space in pharmaceutical development. And we also have that goal backed up by a pretty strong IP-backed prescription pipeline. Just take everybody now next to slide number 3, where I'll tell you a little bit about the company and what our goal and vision was for the last 12 months, how those 12 months have gone, and then what we're working towards for the next. So a year ago, we decided once we had our model in place that we'd been developing for some years, we wanted to then branch out and develop a world-class management team. Our second goal was to develop a world-class pipeline. Our third was to develop some world-class revenues. And our fourth was to take all of the above and build on our shareholder value and continue to grow the company. Just next to slide 4, I'll touch a little bit now on the team additions we've made over the last 6 to 12 months and how they've impacted the company and the focus of going forward. So here are a couple of the additions we've made. Sean Gallagher, who is our company president, Dr. Jeff Patrick from Ohio State, who's come on board as our Chief Scientific Officer. Through the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics, we've added Dr. Alan Smith, who's going to head the 4P division, and also he's the head of clinical and regulatory for Nutriband. Steve Lee, who's heading our Asian division. Steve Damon, who's added to the board of directors for the company, and then Patrick Ryan, who's come on board as our CTO. This was the basis for the world-class management team we put together. Firstly, just to touch on Sean, who's a very experienced businessman from Ireland. He was an independent candidate in the 2011 presidential election and brings a wealth of experience and strategic value to the company as we move forward from a business. Next, we have Dr. Jeff Patrick. So Jeff Patrick comes from Ohio State University, where he currently serves as the head of drug development. Jeff has a wealth of experience in pharmaceutical development and comes with a wealthy background in drug development and taking drugs from concept right through FDA approval. He's over 20 years experience in the pharma industry itself. And next we have Alan Smith, again, a wealth of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. Alan has been running 4P and at the helm since 2011 now, and has a wealth of experience in clinical development and regulatory development for FDA approved drugs. Steve Lee, who's over 20 years experience in the health industry, joins us and has become president of Nutriband Asia. So Steve has a lot of experience in taking products right through to market, marketing the products, branding, and developing a brand awareness in the region. So Steve has been heading our consumer product division, which we primarily focus our efforts in Asia at the moment and are building our sales over there. Steve Damon, who again comes from 4P Therapeutics. Steve was the CEO and owner of 4P Therapeutics before we acquired them recently, and Steve has been a great addition to our board of directors with a lot of experience in heading boards and pharmaceutical companies at the stage we are at. And next we have Paddy Ryan, who joined Nutriband in February 2018. Paddy has an engineering background. He's a lot of experience in online development and technical development as well. So Paddy's knowledge of the space we were in, mixed with his knowledge of his technical background, has been a great addition to our team as CTO. So earlier on this year, we announced the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics, which we recently complete on August 1st of this year. So the 4P Therapeutics acquisition was a huge move for us, as it catapulted us into a very strong position in the pharmaceutical industry. What we received from the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics was personnel in the means of Alan and Steve. We've also received new capabilities on drug development. 4P also brings in revenues into the company, and most importantly, the pipeline that we've been working to develop is consistent with 4P's pipeline that they have been developing for years. So just to touch on the drug development pipeline that we received from 4P Therapeutics, the core focus will be on an abuse deterrent technology which has IP around it, which is very exciting for us. We're looking to really make a dent in the opiate issue in the US at the moment and combat the crisis essentially with accidental and purposeful overdose and misuse of the products. Peptide delivery, which historically has been very difficult to deliver through the skin. We've been working with our 4P team to be able to create a new technology to deliver peptides, and essentially, if taken through FDA approval, be able to compete with injectable treatments for infertility and diabetes, and cut out the use and need of needles for those treatments for patients. So I'll touch a little bit on a product that we've called Dividend, which is an abuse deterrent system for opiate and fentanyl treatment. So what Dividend is a safer version of a fentanyl or an opiate-based patch. These patches are probably the most effective pain medications there is on the market. However, there's a stigma with them at the moment, with them being sold or getting in the wrong hands of people that are using it to get a high, or in the hands of an addict. Or there's also cases of children and pets who will accidentally pick it out of a bin, put it in their mouth, and overdose accidentally. Opiate deaths in the US are in the thousands and thousands each year, and not all are your average addict who's overdone it on a high. There is a lot of accidental misuse as well. What we've done is take a technology that has been around for some time now in the form of opiate pain treatments delivered through a patch. We've taken that patch and made it significantly safer by blocking routes of misuse, be it accidental or purposeful. We've added an additional layer to the back, combining the most bitter substance on the planet combined with pepper spray. And then we have a permeable release liner. So if somebody was trying to get the high out of the patch, be it placing it in their mouth, chewing it, smoking it, snorting it, whatever it may be, it makes it almost possible for the user to get the high out of the patch for the amount of time they would need to do that. It also adds a lot of protection for children misusing the patch accidentally by pulling it out of the garbage, placing it in their mouth, and then accidentally dying as a result by stopping breathing. So this has been a really exciting one for us. We have a patent application filed on the product itself, and we think once we can get this through FDA approval and to market, we'll set a new industry standard for safety. And not only that, we'll be able to take the product to market at the same price as the more dangerous versions at the moment. So we think we can grab a huge market share in a 1.6 billion a year industry. Just a graph here on slide 16 is an indication of the opiate issue in the US at the moment, and the trend is very much going upwards. And this is a combination of not only the opiate-based patches, there's oral opiate treatments and illegal drugs as well. But the trend is not slightly increasing, it's going up at a dramatic rate, and we want to make sure that we can do our part to make a dent in that. Moving on now to slide 16. So just touches here on the actual routes of abuse for people looking to use the drug to get a high. So you can actually make a tea out of it, as you can see in the first circled paragraph. You'll have addicts that will actually take the fentanyl patch, chop it up, put it in water, boil it, and extract the drug that way. There's other ways to get the high, such as smoking, snorting, and then if you want to get a bit more graphic, rectal insertion as well. So what we've been able to do is protect all of these misuse routes by adding the extra layer to the patch and virtually making each of these impossible. On slide 18 now. So what we've got here is actually exciting in another way, in that we developed this technology to focus on fentanyl treatment. Once we take fentanyl-based patch through to market with a safer defense technology, and we've proven the platform, the opportunity for us then is very wide. We can take this down into a buprenorphine route, morphine route, which could be way down the line, and it could be a technology used right down for each opiate-based medication. So just as an example here, Butrans, which is noted on the label that it can cause addiction and the same sort of issues as fentanyl, which would be a step down from fentanyl in terms of strength and the ability to kill. However, it's still highly addictive. So it's a gateway basically to the stronger fentanyl treatment. So to touch on the solution that I mentioned again, what is our solution or fix been for this? It's very simple. It's to make it extremely, extremely unpleasant when you try to use it for anything but its therapeutic purpose. So just as an example, we have some imagery here of the two ingredients we use on the backing layer, and there are even some worldwide competitions for people to try these ingredients and see how they react and respond. And as you can see, it's not a favorable one. But the opportunity for us here is quite significant. So on slide 20, we touch on the market size in the US at the moment and worldwide as well. But we have some big players here. As you can see, the sales for the products are in most cases in the hundreds of millions, definitely in the tens of millions. We feel we can come in very easily and take a large portion of this market, because we will come in at a price parity to any of the generics on the market at the moment, but we'll be upwards of 80% safer than anything that's there already. So not only is it going to be better for the patients themselves, but the physicians will feel safer prescribing our version, and the payers will feel safer reimbursing our version of the patches. So just to recap, Nutriband's abuse deterrent fentanyl has the potential to disrupt several billion-dollar industry, and it's our primary focus right now, and we believe we're very much on track to having that to market, and we don't see any unforeseen negative events along our clinical pipeline. So next, we'd just like to touch on peptides and our generics, which is another addition to the company and something that we've been working on strongly as well. So to touch on slide 24, there's two routes of transdermal delivery. There's transdermal delivery, which has been around for some time, and then there's also novel transdermal delivery, which is our primary focus. So the average transdermal delivery would be your basic patch. It would be used fat-soluble ingredients, small molecular weight, easily passes through the skin on its own. Where transdermal delivery is getting more interesting now is opening up the opportunity for novel transdermal. The novel will be using ingredients that naturally can't pass through the skin, have been historically difficult to get through the skin with anything but a needle. And that's our area of focus now, by using new technologies such as microablation to blast open the pores to be able to deliver ingredients straight into the bloodstream, similarly to an injection. So as you can see as well on slide 24, the market size is quite different. Novel transdermal is 5 to 10 times as large as regular transdermal because of the opportunities of adding in new drug molecules and therapies. And then just slide 25 will give an overview of historically how they've been delivered, where it's delivered at the moment, and where our focus will be right in between peptides and proteins, and that's where we're looking to have a lot of our novel delivery developments. So just to touch on a couple of our candidates, exenatide for type 2 diabetes. It's a peptide delivered in a low dose in a once daily or once weekly injection at the moment. Our focus is to develop a patch that can cut out the need for needles for patients and improve comfort, safety, and efficiency. So we have a feasibility study conducted in humans, and so far positive results. Second will be FSH, which is fossil stimulating hormone. This is treatment for infertility. So again, it's a stable protein delivered in a low dose through an injection. And our goal here is to improve safety, efficiency, and comfort for the patient by cutting out the use of the needle along the way. So again, with preclinical feasibility to demonstrate that we could be equal to an injection in treatment. We also have some generic candidates that we work on for improving our revenues and cash flows. The scopolamine and lidocaine would be two examples of this. Scopolamine was the first ever transdermal patch approved by the FDA. Since then, there's been one generic approved, and we believe the market's wide open for another generic to come to market and take a piece of that. The trend for scopolamine is growing year over year. Generic candidates are not. We could add a nice revenue stream from developing a generic scopolamine. Secondly, lidocaine, which would be a competitor of Lidoderm if we developed it again, was approved in '99. Two generics on the market. There's a wide market for us to enter and take a piece, and it's another focus for the company. These are more straightforward routes to market for FDA approval, and that's why it's attractive to the company as well. So just to recap on the second point, which is 4P and Nutriband. 4P was a very valuable acquisition we completed this year. Through the acquisition, we've acquired the IP for the Dividend, which is the fentanyl abuse deterrent system. $1.6 billion a year market. We believe very easily we could try and grab a large portion of that due to the reasons I already mentioned. We now also have in-house development capabilities, so we can conduct our own clinical trials, third-party clinical development, and cut out a lot of development costs that way. And again, just to retouch on that, we can do third-party clinical testing, and it's another revenue stream for the company. So just moving on now to point 29, slide 29. The next focus for the company was revenues. We wanted to start building revenues, be self-sufficient in our development plans, and how we're achieving that is through Nutriband in Korea. So we signed a $90 million distribution deal with a Korean distributor called Best Choice Inc. This deal is over 20 years, starting at around 2.2 this year, increasing 10% year over year for 20 years. We have received our first order from Best Choice, and we're working towards getting a full-blown distribution channel with Best Choice as we look to grow the brand in the region. So this is for not the prescription pipeline that we have. We have a second consumer line, which is quite popular in Korea, consisting of energy patches, vitamin patches, day-to-day patches that can be used by the average person. So we've been working to develop a brand, and it's been going quite successfully so far, and we're hoping to become the name in patch delivery in the Asian region. So a little bit about Best Choice and Nutriband. We agreed that there was a good market opportunity for testing the products in Korea, which will give us an overall scope of the opportunity in Asia. So we decided we'd come together to put a distribution plan in place, significantly grow the presence in the region, and get the feedback and see if it would be successful. So far, everything is doing very well. Got some great results. The distribution plans are going well, and we've got some good marketing efforts going on in Korea too. So what's this going to do for Nutriband? It's going to add revenues to the company immediately. We have a good margin on the product. The revenues coming into the company from Korea and from the 4P acquisition will make it very easy to keep the company sustained on a cash flow basis. Our goal here with Best Choice is to become a household name and brand in Korea and the Southeast Asian region. Our fourth point that we focused on over the last 6 to 12 months was to take everything I've mentioned now and start using that to build shareholder value, which is important for us. So the stock performance to date, as of the 25th of July, as you can see, has been reflective of the moves we've been making, I believe, and the significant moves, particularly the acquisition of 4P. We believe we're on a good trend, and how we would look at it is the company is basically sitting on the runway. I think there's a huge opportunity ahead of us as we begin to get further into our clinical development. So just on point 34 here, I'd like to touch on our projected possible revenues for Defense. If we were to receive 18% of the market, which is modest in our opinion due to the increased safety, we could be in the region of $300 million a year. So how would we achieve this? We would come in at an exact same price as a generic product on the market. However, we would be 80% upwards safer. So to touch on the points of liability from prescription, liability from patient use, and liability from reimbursement from payers, I believe we tick all of the boxes. We have had a pre-IND meeting with the FDA, which has been successful, and the FDA are very much pushing for abuse deterrent technologies for opiate-based treatments at the moment. So that's a huge backing to have the FDA actively looking for what we're working to provide. Next, there's a huge media focus on the opiate crisis at the moment. Being able to come in and work towards working on this issue and solving it, or at least putting a dent in the increasing death rate, I think we're in a very good spot. It's an epidemic in the US and worldwide, not just a problem here. The problem in Europe and beyond is significant also, which opens up new licensing opportunities, partnership opportunities, etc. also. We have the product itself mapped out with a route to FDA approval, and we're in the process now of working through the clinical pipeline to get it there. Moving on here now to slide 35. Our Korean revenues, which we're working on. We believe we're only at the start of this now. We're at the start of building a very strong brand in Korea. The revenues, we hope and believe, will reflect that. And again, I like to use the phrase, we're on the runway. We're about to develop a name for ourselves out there. And the next 12 months will be very eye-opening on the revenues that correspond with that. And then finally, I'd like to thank everybody for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Viewers, at this time, we would like to open it up for the Q&A session. And Gareth, we already have received a few questions from our viewers. When do you anticipate revenue from the partnership in South Korea? Are there any other sources of revenue anticipated?
Yeah, absolutely. So the partnership with the South Korean distributor, we've already begun our revenue stream there. So we have received our first payment as we begin to initiate our distribution, and we're building up the distribution channels there at the moment as well. So revenue has already started. We have received $50,000 and a down payment on order one, and that's the beginning as we look to move forward from that. Secondly, our next source of revenues following the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics is our third-party clinical development, which we actually conduct in our lab at 4P Therapeutics. So again, that can change month by month, but averages, anything from $30,000 to $80,000 a month at the moment in third-party clinical testing, and we do definitely plan to build on that.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Another viewer wants to know, how is the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics impacting the business operations of your company?
Well, the acquisition of 4P Therapeutics has basically been a changing point for the company. It's launched us into a new league, essentially. The 4P Therapeutics pipeline in particular is of significant strength to what our business model was looking to achieve. I know I touched on defense and the peptide opportunities we have there. Not only the addition of the pipeline, but also the team we've added that I touched on as well, and then the revenue stream that we've been able to add in to supplement our growth as we keep building on where we are now. So the 4P acquisition has added a lot to us in terms of being able to work on our own clinical development in-house. We can start working on different formulations and strategies with new drug development opportunities, and take the resources of all our team's expertise and knowledge, and have the equipment and capabilities to explore new opportunities from the pipeline that's already there.
Yet another viewer asks, are there any major companies showing interest in the drug delivery system utilized by NTRB, by Nutriband?
Yeah, so transdermal delivery is one of the hotter spaces at the moment in pharmaceuticals. And that's evident by companies such as Mylan, who have a pretty active transdermal department. There's a couple of other larger players as well in the space that are actively looking to explore transdermal opportunities now, seeing when you're at a stage where oral delivery has been kind of exhausted, basically. So the next kind of trend that we think is coming in the pharmaceutical industry is taking approved drugs and using transdermal and other methods for improving safety, comfort, and efficiency for patients. And that's evident through the growth in the sector at the moment.
Thank you, Gareth. Another questioner asks, please discuss the synergies Carmel Biosciences will add to Nutriband and how it will ramp up your business operations.
Right, so Carmel is an interesting one for us. I mean, at the moment it's still at an LOI phase, so we're still exploring the opportunity. We have a very strong interest expressed, and we have a signed term sheet agreed on an LOI. But where we see Carmel adding a lot of value to us is their experience in drug development and taking drugs right through to FDA approval, which was obvious through their taking of the drug Prexartan through FDA approval, which is the only non-oral dose of valsartan, which is a drug for hypertension and can be indicated in young adults. So what we like about the Carmel opportunity is there's a lot of synergy in the two teams that would come together, and then there's also the synergy in the fact that Nutriband is looking to create novel solutions for patients by using transdermal delivery to improve safety, efficiency, and comfort. And Carmel, in another similar way, are looking to achieve the same by providing oral solutions for those who maybe can't or have a strong discomfort with pills and tablets. So Carmel's primary focus is on liquid dosage forms. Mm-hmm. So if you imagine, let's say, an infant who has a hypertension issue or whatever it may be, trying to take a couple of tablets every day and having difficulty doing so, if they're able to take this in an oral dosage form, it's a lot easier. So there's a huge opportunity that Carmel are exploring there that's been overlooked in some cases, basically by the larger pharmaceutical companies, because the return is not as significant as they may want. But when you get a large piece of a very small market, it can be just as appealing as a small piece of a very large market.
Thank you, Gareth. Another viewer asks, is Nutriband trying to obtain grant money from the United States government or other entities?
That's something we always make sure to keep our eye on. It's not in our direct business model at the moment. Obviously, the grant money can be very specifically focused, so we would have to make sure that it will be actively in our area of focus, particularly, let's say, with the fentanyl patch we're looking to develop. I know the FDA are very strongly backing the addition of abuse-deterrent technology to opiate-based treatments, and there should be grant opportunities available. However, at the moment, there's nothing we're exploring.
Here's another one for you. Let's talk a little bit about your company's aspirations regarding uplisting. Of course, right now, Nutriband is on the OTC. What are the plans for the future?
NASDAQ is definitely our end goal. That's where our target is right now, and we're actively working towards achieving that. I don't believe it's too far out of reach at this point.
Yeah, a viewer has asked, what is the relationship with Nutriband and Walmart?
Yeah, so we have a supplier agreement signed with Walmart for the Nutriband patches. However, we have halted going on sale into Walmart for the moment while we make sure that everything is done and all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed in terms of FDA regulations and approvals. So our core focus for these products at the moment, as we mentioned, is in Asia. The U.S. is obviously a huge opportunity, but we want to make sure that we do everything correct. So we believe Walmart is there when we look to launch the product. However, we have halted launching it so far.
Still another question. Do you expect the company to pay a dividend in the near future?
Again, that's always a target for a company like us to try and achieve. But it might be early days to say just yet where we might be in the future. It's obviously definitely a target for us. But as I said, it's our first year of trading. We need to take each day as it comes and then work towards that final goal. I can't be in a position to say when or where that would start. But it's definitely a core focus for us.
Thank you, Gareth. And our final question of the day. Do you plan to raise any additional money, a viewer asks, and what can investors expect in the next 3 to 6 months?
It's going to be subject to how things pan out with our revenue streams that we're building on at the moment. So as I said, we've budgeted out and projected to be very self-sufficient. If we need to raise, it probably will not be anything significant. And our plan is to definitely make sure that we have just the finances to get working on our prescription pipeline. So that's where we are at the moment. We have a very definite plan going forward, and there's nothing set in stone on how that may go. But we've put a lot of effort to make sure that we'll be able to do this without doing any significant raises before our targeted aim for NASDAQ.
Okay, thank you very much, Gareth. This is going to wrap up our Q&A session for today, and we'd like to take this time, of course, to thank our viewers for participating in the Nutriband webinar today and with so many excellent questions. And of course, we would like to thank you, CEO Gareth Sheridan of Nutriband, for joining us today and giving us such an informative update on Nutriband. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
For further information on Nutriband, please visit Nutriband.com or contact RedChip directly at redchip.com, or you can always call us at 407-644-4256.